Okay, back to dog rescuing, pet rescues. I was going to try to do this off of an outline, but it gets so, and I don't even know if I'll be able to keep it off from going on a tangent, just doing it loose like this. But I'm going to see what happens. I kind of told you how I ended up with my dogs. I also told you how when I moved out to a different place, it was well exposed to street traffic, and people could see that I had all these dogs. And I got a lot of flack for that, maybe how I was, how my setup was. And basically, it was the dogs were staked. That's what got a lot of people's attention. And the reason I staked the dogs is it allowed them the most room to move around without the risk of them getting off the property. My dog yard is like, it's like 1.5 acres. It's hot wired fence, but I still have had dogs get out. You know, we have sheep on the property, livestock, and my neighbors have a lot of cattle and such. So I have to be responsible for my animals. Make sure at the minimum I keep them on my property. I told you about how people drove by and questioned what I was doing. Maybe I was negligent somehow, so they got the SPCA to come out and do a little investigation on me on 2 occasions. What you have to consider is when most people, someone will rescue a dog, or they'll find this little pitiful dog, they'll bring it in and turn its life around and give it love and affection, and they get a lot out of that. And then they might see another one, and then they might actually, you know, we're going to go out and get a rescue dog. We're going to go to the pound or the SPCA and adopt one because we think we've got more room for that. And that's all fine and good if you have a goal, an attainable goal in the end. In other words, okay, we're not going to get more than 3 dogs, or we're going to stick with 2. And that's what I tell most people. If they want to kind of, they're thinking about, oh, we'd like to rescue dogs, I tell them right off the bat, 2, 3, that's it. You can move around with 2 or 3 dogs and still operate. You get over 3 dogs, and you have dynamics that come into play that you can't even imagine. And in another video, I'll get into the herd dynamic and herd behavior, which will just bog your mind. But you feel that you're doing a good thing. You're saving a dog, and you're giving it a better life, and that's good. Like I said before, anytime I see someone showing mercy towards anything, I'm impressed. It gives me hope. Okay, I wish we could do it a little more to our own, you know, mankind. I don't mind people, you know, we spend a lot on these dogs and such, but if you looked at what I spent on these dogs, I could put a couple of poor kids through college. But anyhow, I'm going off on a tangent. You're thinking you're doing something good, and you are. You know that. You're helping something. And sometimes you get these pitiful dogs, man, it just breaks your heart. When you can turn their life around and give them something, that's just, whew. I mean, I've had some dogs that just would have, I picked up one dog off the street. This lady pulled over, started giving me money. I said, no, man. She says, no. She goes, that's the most pitiful dog I've ever seen. It's been here for 2-3 days in the street. People have driven past it, tried to run. You're the first guy to stop and pick it up. I said, well, don't worry. I got my, you know, it was breaking her heart to see this animal. It broke my heart to see the animal like that. Like I said, I had her for 3 or 4 years. So now you think you're doing this good thing, and in most cases you are. But as you get into dog rescue, as your numbers get up, you know, you get 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 dogs, 12 dogs, whatever you think you can handle. You'll get the anti-rescue crowd, which is probably going to be your neighbors. You're not going to do this on a small lot of a, you know, track home. But let's say you got a couple acres. You decide you want 6 or 8 dogs out there. Your neighbors are not going to go for this. And I can see where they're coming from. I wouldn't necessarily want me as a neighbor, which is why I live where I live now. The guy next to me has 8 dogs. The guy across the street has 5. The guy 2 doors down has 10. You got 60 dogs on this block. So no one can complain about barking. But that's unfortunate that way. Few people have that opportunity. But what you're going to get is you're going to get, I call it the anti-rescue sentiment, or the anti-rescue crowd. You're going to have people that are afraid that their property value is going down. Your neighbor's not going to want to talk to you anymore. They can't, what's the matter with you that you're taking these dogs in? You're going to be called a hoarder. You'll have people maliciously making claims against you. Oh, that crazy person with all those dogs. It used to be such a nice neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. You know, you're the spawn of Satan at this point. But you could pretty much, in their mind, you're burning your neighbors. Your connection to your neighbors is going to go bad really quick as they start picking up that, hey, if you get more dogs than they think is reasonable, and that's up to them. If they think people shouldn't have, they might have 2 or 3 themselves. You get to 5, you're done. You can just kiss that relationship off, and they're going to become a negative for you. So you get the anti-dog crowd, anti-rescue crowd. They're not so tough to live with. I can deal with that thing. That, you know, because I can appreciate where those people are coming from. My dogs don't bark too much, you know, given I don't tolerate a lot of that. But I'm also very responsible for my dogs. My dogs do not leave my property. No one has to worry about my dogs coming out to their place and causing trouble. But you're also going to have, your biggest trouble is going to come from the pro dog rescue crowd. The people that are actually dog rescue types. You might think of them as your peers. They aren't. But you're going to get what I call the Animal Planet crowd. And you'll get more people who want dogs to be treated, and this falls for any pet, but you get people that really are concerned that dogs are treated humanely, and that's fine and good. But it's almost like they'll seek you out, and they're going to make sure that, you know, you're that guy with a lot of dogs. They're looking at you as you're some sort of hoarder. You know, you're not doing it the way they would or the way that they think it should be done, and they will expend large amounts of energy calling the SPCA on you, coming by, or this, you know, getting groups against you, and this kind of stuff. Just a waste of time. And any person with a brain can come and say, hey, I'm a concerned person. I love animals, this and that. And just, you know, I had one guy approach me and said, do you need any help? And I thought, no, but, you know, thanks for offering. And he said, I'm just a little concerned because it looks like you might be in over your head. What a great way of putting it. You know, at the time I wasn't, it was just kind of a mess, but the guy was concerned, but he knew how to approach me. And I let him walk around the place we saw the dogs, and he just saw that, okay, I don't have the nicest, my dogs typically eat their dog houses, and they look a little ratty after a while, and then you go swap them out. And so it was something like that. Someone will see it and say, oh, these dogs are okay, they're not in trouble. You know, but people want to know. They really can't tell from the street. But most other people just do whatever they can to cause some organization to come out and check you out to see if you're really taking care of these dogs. Just like I said in a previous video, a woman claimed that I was a puppy mill. And right now there's a puppy out here who needs to be fixed. He's not big enough yet. But every dog out here is fixed outside of that. And I've had dogs show up that have had puppies, but we've done no breeding here. I want nothing to do with that. Puppies are a pain in the butt. I prefer my dogs or old dogs. But that's something you're going to have to consider, is you're going to have those that are anti-dog rescue, and it's usually the people right around you. And they're going to give you some flack. You also have the dog crowd that, you know, wants to make sure you're doing it correctly, and they're going to give you twice as much flack. And so that's something else you have to consider. So if you're in a little neighborhood, or even you could be in a big fancy neighborhood with a couple acres, and someone's not going to agree with what you're doing. So you really got to have your ducks in a row. You got to run a clean operation. So I would contact the SPCA or whoever the local dog type authority is in your area, and make sure if you choose to do this, make sure you're doing it correctly. Because when someone calls and says, I'm going to call the SPCA out to come out and check you out, you want to be in good standing with those guys. Because usually what they'll say is, oh, we know him, he's okay, don't worry about it. Well, I think it's this. No, he's got everything he's doing is legal. And that's the position you want to be in. And it might even be the local sheriff that has to come out, depending on where you're at. But you want to be in good standing with that. Anyhow, we got another video here.